I knew Trump before he ran for the presidency. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him. He was a huge sports fan. He used to throw a lot of events at his casinos and stuff like that. And I genuinely liked him.
Here's Stephen A. Smith speaking at the Semaphore Media Summit about Donald Trump.
I didn't know who this guy was running for president. I think he's changed.
That's an interesting comment we'll circle back to.
But I will tell you this, I think when people call him racist and stuff like that, I've never thought of Trump that way. He's not against black people. He's against all things not named Trump.
This is bad. It's wrong. It's to bother a Stephen A. Smith word preposterous.
Even about myself, if I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage.
Because Stephen A. has shown who he is, a never-Trumper Republican. When LeBron James opened a school in Akron, Ohio to help those that have been left behind by those in government, Trump called him low IQ.
One of the fights he's picking, I think it's reminiscent of what we saw following Charlottesville. The president is using a common talking point from white supremacist communities that black people have less intelligence than white people.
He said this of his fellow man from predominantly black countries.
Why do we want these people from, quote, all these countries here? Mr. Trump was referring to African nations and Haiti before suggesting the U.S. should have more people from places like Norway.
Yep, Norway, a country that is a reported 94% white. He'd also speak ill of Nigerian immigrants, saying once they saw the U.S., they'd never, quote, go back to their huts in Africa. He said this of Mexican people.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
And then this.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
He labeled the coronavirus as follows.
Kung flu.
On Smith's He's Changed front, at a 1993 hearing on tribal casinos, Trump said this.
Is this you discussing Indian blood? We're going to judge people by whether they have Indian blood, whether they're qualified to run a gaming casino or not?
That probably is me, absolutely. I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me.
And then more racism.
14,000 apartments in 39 different buildings, all mostly white tenants. That is until the Department of Justice took notice in 1973 and slammed Donald Trump and his father Fred Trump with a lawsuit. Trump management was charged with discriminating against African Americans and breaking federal law.
Prior to becoming president, he ran Trump University, which was sued and is now defunct for defrauding students. Gonzalo Curiel, a judge presiding over the case, was told by Donald Trump he could not be impartial because he hailed from Mexico. The judge was born in Indiana and works in California. Even Paul Ryan, of all people, called Trump racist for this. Trump would go after 5 black men who were wrongfully accused of killing a jogger in Central Park, even taking out a full-page ad in the papers calling for the death penalty. They would later, much later, way too long later, be exonerated. There was no DNA evidence. However, Trump inserted himself into the story. Yusef Salaam, one of the exonerated, called Trump the fire starter. On top of this, a former employee of Trump's, Kip Brown, went on the record saying when Trump and wife Ivana arrived at his casino, all black people were ordered off the floor. Another former employee, John O'Donnell, told a story of Trump's racism toward a black coworker.
He referred to, who was our chief financial officer, by the way, not just an employee, the top financial officer in the organization. And he complained to me that he didn't really like having a black guy counting his money. He went on to say, what I want counting my money is short guys with yarmulkes on their head.
O'Donnell would then add the following.
He went on to say in this conversation that that he perceived this guy as being lazy. And then he said, but that's probably not his fault because laziness is a trait in blacks.
How could Stephen A. Smith possibly argue Trump has changed? From birtherism and more, he hasn't changed. Not in the slightest. He has been this person the entire time.